And today I wanted to introduce you to Derek Fort, the Director of Technology at Rockdale County Public Schools. Rockdale is located in Conyers, Georgia, just east of Atlanta. Derek and I have been working together for a while now, and he's been doing some really exciting stuff. And I thought it'd be great if he could come on here and share his experiences with using Azure AD and Intune to manage his devices for the past, roughly 6 years, Derek? And so with that, I'll hand it over to you, Derek. Take it from here.
Well, hey guys, it's great to be with you today. Just a side note, for the last 2 hours, I've been sitting in the dark. They had a brush fire down the road and the power's been off. So I'm grateful for batteries and phones, right? So thank you, Ryan, for the introduction. I do work for Rockdale County Public Schools. I'm in education for about 25 years. I started off as a teacher in a math classroom, and then I became a digital learning specialist for several years. And then I've been the director for Rockdale for approximately 8 years or so. And so we're just outside of Atlanta, like Ryan talked about. We have about 16,000 students, about 3,000 employees. Our population of students, we're about 73% free and reduced lunch. And so I always like to show this slide, just kind of give you a perspective. We've been a one-to-one district since really we started planning around 2013. We started a pilot around 2014, and then 2015 is when we actually pushed it out to our high schools, and then we went all the way down. Now we're down to second grade with laptops for our students. For our teachers, you'll see on the left, we have 13-inch laptops. They're Dell Latitudes. They come with Windows 10. I have to say we're not following the guidance because we're actually pushing and doing Windows 11 this year. We did a lot of testing since Windows 11 came out, and we feel like for what we do, Windows 11 will work just fine, and it works with all the applications. Our students have 11-inch laptops, and then our administrators have iPhones. We manage all of those through Intune there. So why did we choose Microsoft Intune? So just like Ryan said, about 6 years ago, we realized that what we were doing was very difficult with that many student devices. So we were using group policies, we were imaging, all of those kind of things, and it was very difficult. And so the students were taking the devices off premise every night. And so it was hard to make sure that they were updated. They had all the latest updates and they had all the policies that we were pushing out and the apps. And so we had a big decision to make whether we were going to go SCCM or Intune. And for ease of use, we decided to use Intune. And so we started using Intune. We started with student laptops. We tried those for a year and it worked really well. So we moved to the teacher laptops as well. And then we moved to all desktops. So every device, every Windows device in our district is managed by Intune. And so we have been doing that for the past 6 years and it's worked really well. So kind of just to give you an idea, one of the big things we had to decide in the beginning was were we going to keep imaging or were we going to start resetting the devices? And so we talked to several people from Microsoft and they said, hey, you should just try resetting. Imaging was very cumbersome. You probably all know that. Our images were very large. They would take some over an hour to push out to devices. And our high schools, one of our larger high schools has over 2,000 students. And we would have switches and Ethernet cables running across classrooms or media centers trying to re-image devices, and it was just too difficult. And so we decided to change that and to reset a device. And so with Intune, it allows us to do that. We're able to reset the device with a thumb drive. It takes us about 15 minutes to do that. And so we can reset a whole school in about 3 or 4 days and have everything up and running in about 3 or 4 days real easily. And once we reset the device, once the student logs in, it pushes out their profiles and it pushes out their applications directly to their device. We haven't had any issues with that over the past 6 years. It's been working really smoothly and haven't had any complaints from the students or the teachers. They actually love it because the devices start up a lot quicker, usually less than 30 seconds. All our devices start up, even the student devices in the past when we were doing GPOs, it would take forever for them to start up as they processed everything. So one of the stories during the pandemic, the difference between imaging and resetting is that we had, give you an example, we had one of our principals during the pandemic. They had an issue with one of their parents, and they had to travel down to Florida, and they couldn't come back, but they still had to be the principal at the same time during this pandemic. They had a major issue with their device, and the only thing that really could resolve it was to reset the device. And so I talked to the principal and I said, hey, we can do that as long as you have internet connection. I can reset it from where I'm sitting and you'll be back up and running in about 20, 30 minutes. She said yes, and I was able to reset it from the console. It took about 30 minutes and she was back up and running. We were able to push out all our profiles and all our applications without any problems. And so that's a wonderful thing for us. Usually my philosophy with my technicians in the schools is if it takes over about 15 or really 10 minutes to resolve a device, to resolve an issue on a student device, I just tell them to reset it. And it's a lot easier for them to do that and try to figure some things out sometimes with that. Resetting the device, just to let you know, when we reset a device, we do put a provision package on it, and it just joins it real quickly to wireless. It renames it. It adds any files, which we don't add many files anymore, or do any installs, but it can do that as well. And so that's been working really well for us in the process of resetting those devices there. One of the other things, this is kind of a little bit different, but one of the other things that we've done recently is that we've moved all our user accounts from on-prem Active Directory to Azure Active Directory. And we did it in 2 phases. So we first move our student accounts, and then this past year, we moved all of our employee accounts over solely to Azure AD. We did it for 2 reasons, for security and for simplicity sake. And it went smoothly. It took about 2 to 3 years to do so. It took a lot of preparation to do so. We had to move all of our authentication from on-prem to Azure. And so we were able to do that. We had to make sure that we
Derek, I think you can get muted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm sorry, it must be me.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
So we make sure that we had a unique identifier as an employee number or student ID because we do have a third-party app that automates the process of creating the users. And then one of the biggest issues is we had to recreate our security groups because once you move, all of your security groups and all of your distribution lists go away. And so it took us some time. We planned that out and made that transition as well. And we did a lot of testing with that. But ever since we've changed over, everything's runs smoothly, and we haven't had any issues with any accounts at all. I was very concerned about my superintendent's account. That's the last one that I wanted to mess up, but that went well as well. And I was able to keep my job. So I was happy about that. So those are a few things that we've done so far. We've enjoyed working with Intune. It's really helped us during the pandemic. Students were able to take all their devices home and didn't miss a beat. We were able to push out any kind of profiles or any kind of applications to their devices when they were at home. They didn't have to come on premise at all. Same for the employees. So that was a blessing. So Ryan, I don't know if you have any questions or.
Yeah, so you've been using Intune since the Silverlight days, right?
Yes, we were actually right in the middle of that changeover from the older version to what you have now, and so that was a little bit of a difficult process. But once it fully transitioned over, it was a lot easier.
And so you've gone through the trials and tribulations of Intune maturing to what it is today.
Yes, definitely. We were probably one of the only districts in the nation, maybe I would say about 6 years ago, maybe not, but it was hard to find other districts who had done that. But now more and more districts are using Intune for their devices. And when I ask districts why they haven't changed, there's really no good reason they haven't changed. Because it's really a simple process to change over, and resetting going from imaging to resetting is a drastic change for us, and our technicians in our schools are very grateful for that change.
I know some of the schools' challenges is getting off the legacy of home drives, network shares, and being able to print locally. How are you handling that in your environment?
Great question. About 4 years ago, we had an issue where we were in the process of changing over to Intune for all our employee devices. But before we did that, we had an issue with malware that went through our county office, and the reason it went through our county office is because we had shared drives. And so that was actually a perfect timing for us to tell everybody this is the reason we're going solely to SharePoint and to OneDrive. And since then, we haven't looked back. We changed over all those devices to Intune. And then every device from then on, after that, we moved all our files to SharePoint or to OneDrive. And that's how we share from then on out.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Oh, I do want to say about printing. We are looking, I was excited to hear about the universal printing today because Ryan's been talking about that for a while, and we're actually starting to test that and working on that over the summer. And so hopefully we can test that in one of our schools this fall.
That's awesome. Really quick, Laura has a question on just some stats about your district. So could you tell a little bit about the size of your user population, device population, kind of a little bit of information about your district? Thanks.
Sure. We have approximately 16,000 students and about 3,000 employees. And so we have about, so we issue 2nd through 12th grade devices. So that's probably about close to 14 to 15,000 devices, probably about 14,000 devices. Our population has changed because before the pandemic, we were a lot larger, and we kind of shrank during the pandemic. It's coming back now. So all those devices for students, probably about 2,000 devices for the employees that receive those laptops. And then we have about 6,000 desktops. So all told, it's over 20,000 devices that we manage through Intune. We don't manage, all our Windows devices are managed through Intune. And the only thing that we have AD for on premise now are for our data center. And so we have a small data center as well in our district. Did that answer the question about our devices and population?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, Laura.
No, I said it did. Thank you.
Okay.
Derek, do you have a write-up on how you moved all your accounts from AD to AAD, the process?
Actually, we do. We do, and it will probably mention the product that I talked about that automates our user accounts a little bit, but it's actually a really simple process. It just takes some time and some preparation, and it's a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. But yes, I can provide that information.
In case there's any other schools that might be interested in doing the same thing. It looks like Timothy's got a question. Does your data center use Meccum, or what do you use to manage your servers?
We do not use Meccum. We actually have a very small, I'm just being honest with you now, we actually have a very small data center now. It's drastically changed over the last 3 or 4 years. We have moved off our student information system to the cloud and our financial package to the cloud, and several other, our bus program and our school food service program, we've moved to the cloud. So really, since we don't store files anymore, we don't have file shares, it's really we have a basic, it's just for infrastructure. We have DNS, we have AD and a few other servers, to be honest with you. It's easier for us to manage. I mean, we are a smaller district, so we don't have a large technology staff. And so there's really not many servers to manage. We do have hyperconverged farms. We have actually 2 of them. That's all we need to manage everything else. I know that didn't really answer your question, but that's what we have.
So now that all your laptops, your desktops are Azure AD joined, managed by Intune, you've moved everything to the cloud, all your accounts are in the Azure AD. What's next?
I think cloud printing is one of our next things that we're excited about, because we want to get rid of our print servers in our schools, and so that's really our next big project. I mean, a huge project for us the last couple of years was to move all of our users from on-premise AD to Azure Active Directory, and it's been a huge blessing to us, because there's just many steps to create the account in AD and then move it up to Azure AD. If you ever change an account, you have to wait for it to populate into Azure AD, those kind of things. We don't have to do that now. It's really instantaneous. So that was a huge project that we worked with, on for actually several years. And then now the biggest thing is going to be printing. We did, I will tell you this, since it's an Azure product, we did in the past year set up Azure Site Recovery as another disaster recovery plan, those type of things, and that's really worked well for us. We're able to spin up the servers that we do have on-prem in the cloud, so we're really excited about that.
You also have the A5 subscription, so you have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Are you using that at all?
Yes. Well, we have actually A3 with the A5 add-on, the security add-on. And so we do use Endpoint on all our devices, so all our laptops and all our desktops. And so we're able to see across, all our environment, excuse me, our environment, and know what's going on with all those devices. So we can see if there's a virus or something going on with any of the devices, and if we need to, we can manage those devices even if they're off-prem. So we can do lots of things with those devices.
Okay. Looks like Paul's got a question. Paul?
Yeah, you said A5 with security has some. We're getting a little lost in the licensing. We're trying to actually sort of get to a point that you're describing a little bit. Is that A3 with the security features, or is that what A5 with security had? Is that what you're referring to? So
We have
you don't have the full A5. You just have A3 plus security.
correct.
Okay.
We have
Is there automated remediation of threats in that, or do you need the full A5 for that?
we have full automated remediation. That's what we have turned on right now.
Okay. All right. That answers the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Any other questions? We're running out of time here.
Yeah, it looks like Brian has one in the chat. Do you want me to read it out to you, Brian?
Yeah, go for it.
So Brian's asking, how well do your internet connections handle the first few days of school with everyone loading new profiles?
Hey, that's a fantastic question. And in the beginning, we were not prepared for that 6 years ago. And so it really overwhelmed, just to be honest with you, it overwhelmed our network and really bogged it down. And we just weren't prepared for that. And so we're grateful now that we don't have that problem anymore because of delivery optimization in Intune, and actually Ryan helped us out, helped us set that up. And ever since we set that up, we don't have any issues at all at the beginning of the year. We used to, because of that, in the beginning, we would have to, at the beginning of the year, we would wait to push out Office. We would kind of stagger Office when we push that out to the students. Like we would do our high schools first, and then a week or two later we'd do our middle schools, and then a week or two later we'd do our elementary schools. But after we pushed out delivery optimization, those settings, set those up, we actually haven't had any issues at all. And so you really don't see the bandwidth utilization that we used to see at the beginning of the year. But that's a fantastic question. So Microsoft, from our perspective, has resolved that issue.
Yeah, that's a great call out about delivery optimization. So I just threw a link in the chat. So for those of you who are exploring, looking at those devices in Intune, delivery optimization is a key setting to configure on those clients from a peering perspective and kind of save that bandwidth. So great call out, Derek. Thanks for sharing that.
It helped us at the beginning of the year and the monthly, any of the monthly updates. So we would get throttled on those monthly updates, but ever since they did that, it was great.
Hey, Derek, are you guys also using update compliance to track updates as well as delivery optimization usage?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Well, there's no more questions here. You can always post those in their group chat. We'll be help answer those questions. And Derek will be happy to. I'm going to throw you under the bus, Derek. Be happy to continue answering questions on your behalf. So thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. And Derek, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and sharing your experience. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Derek.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, and thanks everyone for joining today. So we'll go ahead and stop that recording. Again, as Ryan mentioned, if there's additional questions, go ahead and post those into the team channel that's listed community questions. Anything that we talked about today, and then we're probably going to spin up another channel that just has all the meeting recordings as well as the resources shared. So the deck today for all those links that we talked about, that should all be in there momentarily. And again, if there's any questions, just let us know. Thanks again for joining, and hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.